high inflation, slow economic growth, high unemployment, boom, stagflation. I think it's what? Recession inflation is, I guess, like kind of the best way to describe it. Yeah. So it's going to be a problem. You know what? You know what really could help? Government immediately stop spending and drop taxes even more. Because what happens? People are going to get drop taxes. That's going to turn into revenue. The whole idea of that when people sit here and argue and they say that trickle-down economics doesn't work, you're a moron. I'm sorry. You can't do math, and you should be publicly ridiculed for your stupidity so that other people are encouraged to become more educated. I'm really hardcore about this. My oldest son in college is in his like second, third economics class. I don't remember. And he's actually was doing a whole thing on stagflation because I was asking him how's school going, et cetera. And like one of his finals, he's got to do this whole thing for his economics class. And he sees it and his college class sees it. And you realize that when you have higher prices, when you're paying an insane amount at the gas pump, you can measure that you're paying a lot more now than you had been previously. When the cost of things that you need daily has increased, you're essentially getting taxed more because you're paying more for these items that you had not been paying for previously. Milk, bread, eggs, beef, the stuff that normally I would kind of joke around and say that it's, the snowstorm food, right? Go get your bread, milk, and eggs. But prices have increased so much. Fertilizer. There's a lot of a lot of basic stuff. You have this coupled with slow employment and high employment too, because you shut down the economy. You're announcing that we're sending, however many billion here. We're sending billions to Ukraine. We are promising billions for the Build Back Better. He's now saying that he wants to forgive loans of billions of dollars that people knowingly took out to pay for college. And then all these other big infrastructure, big ticket items that he just wants to spend. He's talking about removing the Trump tax cuts. The Trump tax cuts are what propelled the economy into ludicrous speed. It was the Trump tax cuts that made sure that the economy could survive. If we hadn't had those, that economy wouldn't have survived the lockdown. It barely survived the lockdown as it was. He cuts them. If he removes those tax cuts, the bottom's going to fall out. I promise you. Bottom will fall out when people have more of their own money. People need. Not only do we need to maintain the tax cuts we have. I actually thought I wanted Trump to cut more. We need to actually cut more because people are already being taxed with the invisible tax, meaning they don't call it a tax, with inflation. So cut taxes further to allow people to adjust for the increased price of commodities. Stop the spending. Freeze any unnecessary, unrelated to Article 1, Section 8 spending. And then look at defense spending, the only thing we're actually allowed to constitutionally spend federal dollars on, and take inventory of what we're spending the budget on to make sure, because nothing's a sacred cow. Just because it's constitutionally allowed doesn't mean that there's not waste in there. Make sure we're spending our money smart. Cut everything. That's the only way to correct this. It's the only way to correct it quickly. Otherwise, it's going to be a multi-year climb out. And that's only if you do good things slowly. It's a disaster. The number one biggest source of financial stress amongst U.S. adults last month was managing their living expenses. 30% of Americans are concerned about the cost of necessities like groceries and gas and utilities. That's really sad. And so now we have the administration talking about creating, out of all this is happening, they created the Ministry of Truth. It's just so ridiculous. So I'm just tired of it. I just can't even imagine. He's only been in office for what? A year and a half?
14, 15 months.
Jeez. And he's done this much.